You're hiring and you've identified a few candidates to interview. Well, slow down or you'll waste a lot of time. Seriously. I'm Dr. Bill Conerly, an economist and business consultant, and this is another in my series, Leadership in Today's Tight Labor Market. The economy put business in a bind where employee quits are up and hiring is tougher, but relax, I'll help you out. I say slow down to save time because the biggest time waster is the interviewer's own haste. Believe me, I'm talking about myself. If you haven't prepared well, you'll spend too much time talking yourself and won't learn what you really need to learn, and you'll risk making a bad hire. And that's the biggest time waste of all. Write out a list of questions. You don't have to actually read them word for word, but have a structure. A list ensures that you cover all the key topics and that you ask the same questions with each candidate. Think of three categories of questions. The first is core values. Remember the video on hiring priorities. You want somebody with the core values that your company needs, like honesty or safety or customer service. Make sure you have a few questions on this topic. Sometimes the first question will answer the second question, and that's fine. If you have an answer, go ahead and move on. The second category of questions reflects personal traits and preferences. Remember the video on hiring for retention. I explained that personal traits like sociability versus preference for solitary work must match the job to be done. So ask some questions on that topic. I like spectrum questions such as, there's a spectrum or range of people's preferences for working alone or working with others. Where on this range are you? Heavily prefer working with others, heavily prefer working alone, somewhere in the middle. And if the person answers in the middle, ask if he or she leans toward one end or another, or straight down the middle. The third category of questions focuses on specific job skills. In high tech, this often means a whiteboard question, such as how would you approach a typical software task like sorting a long list of names? In other areas where softer skills are needed, like customer service, you can ask a tell me about a time question, such as, tell me about a time that a customer was unhappy, the customer was actually wrong, and how you dealt with that. Now that you have your list of questions, wait! Don't schedule an in-person interview, schedule a 20-minute telephone call. That's easier for you and certainly easier for the candidates. If you don't like the early answers, it's easy to terminate the call early. That is somewhat awkward in an in-person interview. Now bring the top candidates in for personal interviews, but keep your question list in front of you. For the most critical questions, ask them again even if you covered them in an earlier interview. You may get different answers, and especially about core values, that could be a red flag. Once you've made your decision, you want to make an offer, watch my video on getting your offer accepted. And when that offer is accepted, get back to the other candidates you interviewed. It's incredible that so many employers fail to talk to the applicants they don't hire. This is common courtesy, or maybe uncommon courtesy these days. And it can pay a dividend. A few years back, I selected a candidate for my admin. She accepted my offer, and 2 weeks later had a family condition change and quit. Did I start all over? Nah. I called up my second choice, explained what happened, and offered her the job. Having been respectful to her in the first place, she was favorably inclined to go to work for me. And she turned out to be the best assistant I've had in 20 years. Thank you, Julia. I'm Dr. Bill Conerly. Watch the other videos in this series, Leadership in Today's Tight Labor Market.